Automobilista 2 is now available to the general public as part of the Early Access program. So while everyone's flocking to the headline-grabbing content, I thought I'd have a bit of a rundown of what I think are some of the most fun series to drive. And surprising even myself, there's not a single Formula 1 car on the list. Hello fellow sim racers. A couple of weeks ago when I released my first impressions video on AMS2, I made the comment that the content within the game was by far its biggest asset. And with AMS2 now available to anyone with a Steam account, I thought I should probably back up that statement by showing you guys some of my favourite content in the sim. Now, I must admit I do like the classic F1 cars, who doesn't? But for me, it's some of the less headline-grabbing content that really shines through. Let's kick things off with what is by far my favourite series to drive in the game, the Copa Classics. Maybe it's just me, but there's something genuinely appealing about this set of cars. The formula's simple. Take 5 1980s, classics mostly, and get out there and start banging doors. What's not to like? These cars are outrageous fun to drive, great to race against thanks to each of the models' varying power, layout and design, philosophy or lack thereof. I can tell you now, the smiles per mile factor you get thrashing around a Fiat Uno, doing your best not to waste precious momentum picking off an old Chevette, is off of the chart. From my experience so far, each of these cars drives really well, and these cars are amongst the best that AMS2 has to offer in terms of the driving experience, in my humble opinion. Everyone's favourite 5,000 kilo mega trucks are back for AMS2, and they're every bit as mad as they were before. What you have here is 5 tons of metal, powered along by 1300 horsepower and a sequential transmission. What that adds up to is a driving experience like nothing else. The first 3 gears are super short, which means getting those 1300 ponies onto the asphalt is like trying to solve a Rubik's Cube while wearing mittens. And then when you're up to speed, there's the small matter of slowing down the 5 tons of truck, something which is at odds with Newtonian physics. But when you get racing, it's some kind of magic. Driving these trucks is tough, especially if you're using a Formula rim, but the experience is incredibly rewarding. Once you get on top of the tremendous turn-in understeer, the glacial braking distances, and a loud pedal that really seems to want to bite your foot off, you could almost call it relaxing. You'd be wrong though. I guess I didn't really have any choice about including Stock Car Brazil in the list. These space frame silhouette monsters have a lot going for them. And if you like your modern touring car content to have more of an Aussie kind of vibe, then these cars have a lot more in common with that philosophy than, say, the TCR or NGTC vibe you can find elsewhere. What that means is lots of power and a moderate amount of aero, making these cars fast and tricky to handle. And honestly, what more could you want? I must admit, I was tempted to put the V8 cars in here in the place of the Stock Car Brazil content, but honestly, both are great fun to drive, and this one felt a little bit more in keeping with the theme. The last series on my list is the humble Formula V. I know we've seen it in other sims, but I just seem to gel with it incredibly well in AMS2. With an earth-shattering 104 brake horsepower, the little V isn't going to set the world alight, though it does weigh only 400 kilos, or to put it another way, less than half of what my old MX-5 weighs. So it's almost like driving a rental car to some extent, in that any hint of wasted momentum costs you dearly, and that's what makes it so much fun to drive. Well, that and the force feedback, which is nice and lively, which coupled with the road legal tyres makes for a really engaging experience as you hold the car right up against the grip limit. So those are the 5 series that I'm finding more enjoyable. Yeah, so I totally forgot to write down and record anything about Copa Fusca, which is the Beetle category. Honestly, probably the best content in the game. I've said that about a lot of things, but I really mean it this time with the Beetles. So those are the series that I'm finding more enjoyable than the F1 content right now. But that's not to say that the F1 cars are bad, far from it. And driving the early 90s car in particular is something that keeps bringing me back. As for AMS2, lots has changed since my first video a couple of weeks ago, and things are improving at a real pace. There's more work to be done of course, but I'm still really happy with how things are progressing. Most of the big stuff is now solved, so if you're thinking of dipping your toe in the water for the early access release, I think it's definitely worth your time. So guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, it would be great if you could hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so you can see more content like this in the future. So all that's left to say is goodbye, thanks for watching, and enjoy the rest of your day.